any case, this is the first possession, and man, Jameson Williams lit up their outside corners. I wish we kind of saw this more often. Gibbs with Goff under center, used in play action, almost kind of as bait, gravity, if you will, to draw the inside linebackers up on the play action fake. In this case, you do have a tight end who's kind of leading up as well, so you can see the space that's been created over top of these guys. And something to talk about from this game, man, the reckless, almost undisciplined play that the Rams safety showed. I just don't know what this safety is jumping up to take away from a Jameson Williams standpoint. The only thing I can imagine is that he's reading run and he's coming downhill. Those guys, in my opinion, were easily exploited. Not just on play action from under center on first down, because you certainly had some wins on critical third downs as well. Watching the Rams safeties, it was pretty obvious how Detroit wanted to attack them, especially as the first half went on and taking a 10-point lead. Borderline benchable offenses, if you ask me, from the way that the Rams safeties were playing certain things. This is the same play from the end zone angle, so it's a jumbo 12 personnel group. You've got an actual tackle out here, albeit a sixth one in the case of Dan Skipper, who can help out with the pass pro. I really like that if you're going to continue to have problems with pass protection, particularly at the left guard spot, so long as Christian Mahogany is out. We're talking about Tristan Colon playing left guard. A couple of things. I like having the sixth offensive lineman in as often as possible, or as much as possible, number one. Number two, fullback or running back helping out Colon in one of the gaps. So basically the idea is so the defensive tackle doesn't have a two-way go in terms of his pass rush move. But in any case, the play action fake, and you can see, I think it's Cam Curl jumping really nothing whatsoever off the play action fake, other than possibly coming downhill to play against the run. Looks like to me Landman 53, who's a spectacularly underrated player, has already read or recognized that it's play action. Beautiful throw from Goff. Again, those one-on-one opportunities for Jameson Williams on the outside, and Amon-Ra St. Brown as well, they just seem so easily to exploit, at least from watching the film. The Rams, of course, went down and tied it pretty quickly here. This is a 3rd and 8. It's going to be a completion to Jameson Williams up top. Almost kind of looks like another one of these irregular Tampa 2 coverages. Not necessarily pre-snap, but once you get a safety rotation. So number one, the inside receiver, I believe that's Raymond, but I could be wrong, is running a vertical. And then Jameson Williams, kind of this dig-ish route from the top side of our screen, right to left from a Jared Goff perspective. So they're rotating this safety down, and they're bringing the corner off the edge into the boundary. So interesting blitz choice from the Rams. It ends up being a 4-man pass rush, with this defensive tackle looping around for contain. Inside corner blitz, I believe that's Forbes. Edge rusher, kind of a delayed rush, but you see what I mean, that there's 4 guys dedicated or assigned to rush the passer. And Curl is rotating down to be a flat player into the boundary. To me, it looks like you've also got a flat player up here. And this safety has kind of pushed to the middle of the field. I almost want to call this a Tampa 2, with this Mike linebacker reacting to the pass strength to his right, the downside of the screen, and then realizing, okay, I've only got one route. There's no vertical here for me to attach to. Let me look to the other side of the screen. It doesn't do a bad job of it, to be honest with you, being as his hips opened this way initially. But because he catches Goff's, or he's trying to look at where Goff is focusing on, he's unable to get more vertical, and as a result, this throw is over the top of him and to the outside, I should say, to Jameson Williams, perfectly stuck in there by Goff. The ease with which Goff was able to access these types of throws, even on a 3rd down, it wasn't under center play action here. Again, once I watched the film, it was pretty shocking. When you watched it live, you knew Goff was in control. These look incredibly easy to access. Conversely, Matt Stafford was dealing with the same dynamic against Kelvin Shepard's defense. All right, we're still on to the 4th possession. This is, of course, going to be the screen to St. Brown to take a 17-14 lead. This is an unusual play in that, well, once St. Brown motions across, you'll see him and Jameson Williams, who spot shadowed here. They both set up like they're going to get the screen. And the only thing I can think is that, there was that game where St. Brown left and then didn't play the ensuing week, or perhaps he did. Maybe I'm misremembering that. And Jameson Williams seemed to get a lot of targets. So the only thing I can think is that at times Jameson Williams was actually playing the Amon-Ra St. Brown position, whether it's the Z, the H in their offense, whatever. But in any case, Sewell is going to go get the outside corner because, man, credit to Jameson Williams. He's setting up like he thinks he's going to get the football and then immediately adjusts. There's just no apparent level of selfishness at all in Jameson Williams' game. And I just credit to him because earlier in the year, he wasn't that involved in the offense, wasn't getting that many opportunities. Since Dan Campbell has taken over the play calling, of course, he's been more involved and had more of an impact. One thing to talk about, and I've mentioned it a couple of times already, what are the safeties looking at for the Rams sometimes? Maybe this is a predetermined blitz, fine. But at some point, how many players do you need lined up out here? We got 2 right now. And how many keys do you need to show you where the ball is going to not just blindly blitz? What you ended up, really he ends up in the A gap. So what I'm talking about is you've got the tackle and the guard, right? The gaps to their inside. The gap between them is B gap, and the gap inside of the guard, between the guard and the center, is the A gap, with C gap being outside of Sewell. So watch the safety's path. Just zero recognition of what's actually happening in front of him. Yeah, you have the running back crossing Goff's face, but you got 2 linemen working to your outside. The little brown leather football, the thing that really matters, is still in Jared Goff's hands. It's just shocking to me how these safeties played in this game for the Rams. I come away going into the game. I was very impressed with their defense. They came to Baltimore, totally shut us down. Of course, it's a game that Lamar Jackson didn't play in, but coming out of it, again, as I said twice before, this looks like a situation to me where if these 2 teams played again, it's going to be a shootout for 60 minutes. I think this one's actually snapped with like 36 seconds left in the second half, or in the second quarter, I should say. In any case, it's a touchdown to Williams that follows very similar pattern as some things that we've talked about before. Basically, you've got St. Brown and Williams on the same side, 0 vertical threat from the slot on the opposite side, and in fact, I think Tesla runs this kind of route, so it's a split field coverage. This safety is not going to have any awareness of that route nor that one generally, unless he's getting A, some communication from the opposite side safety, or B, has some pre-snap awareness of the formation. And look, I'm being probably overly critical for some of you guys. They're in dime. So what's the point of having a dime linebacker in here if you can't, for me, at least my understanding, absolve the boundary side safety of any vertical responsibility and allow him to push to the field? From what I was taught about a dime defensive structure, that's kind of the point. That's kind of the whole reason, is that if you don't get 3 to the boundary, you can allow the dime linebacker to man up on someone depending on the release of the running back and or number 2. When I say number 2, I'm talking about number 2 to the top side. Allowing this safety to kind of push, which has a trickle down or trickle out effect. The Rams have none of that type of communication, either pre-snap or post. I never see arms, looking up or face masks turning to communicate to one another. I'm really shocked, to be honest with you, because they've played such a high quality of defense from a points per game perspective. They've got a big game coming up with the Seahawks on Thursday that I'll be able to cover and do a reaction video of, obviously. And the last time they played them, they forced turnovers. And that's the one thing that I'm somewhat hesitant to say is, if you don't turn the football over against this defense, I wonder if you can just get things done consistently like Jared Goff, St. Brown, and Williams did in the first half. They go up by 10 here. I know that it ultimately ends up being disappointing, right? Because the defense got completely shredded. But you're missing so many guys over there. Branch, Joseph, DJ Reed, and Amik Robertson have been taking turns not playing well, in my opinion. And that was kind of shown on the ensuing possession. The Rams went right downfield, right, and cut it to 24-17 at the half. I think Goff believes both pre-snap and post-snap that he's going the right place here. This is after that hold, and then I think there's a 6-yard run by Gibbs up the middle on a 2nd and 15. So it's a heavy blitz structure from the Rams. You can see everyone that they've got lined up here. And I believe that Goff correctly understands that the pressure is coming from his right side, the bottom side of our screen. So what he's predicting, or what he's understanding, is that you're going to get an outside linebacker dropping out on the far side or the opposite side of the blitz. So let me Explain what I mean just from the all-22 angle. If this is the blitz or the pressure side, then from the corresponding side, you're oftentimes going to get someone dropping out. And in this case, they drop out both of those guys. So because of the route that St. Brown is running, I think that Goff believes St. Brown will be open because the corner over there is not going to be responsible for the flats. We're talking about this corner right here. Since I think it's Young is dropping out to the flats, Goff believes, normally correctly, that corner is not going to be able to play this out route by St. Brown. Unfortunately, one of the few moments, or one of the isolated moments, where these outside corners for the Rams play things really well. So he leaves the vertical by 1 to take over the slot out by St. Brown. So it's a really nice play. It's a 3rd and 9. So, if this ball is thrown out in front of St. Brown and the corner doesn't fall off, he doesn't react downhill, then you got an opportunity to get the first down. But because of the pressure, Goff, off his right side, because of this outside pressure by this DB, this nickel DB, I believe it's a nickel DB, then Goff is fading away, kind of spinning counterclockwise when he throws the football. And instead of it being nice and flat out to the sideline, it brings St. Brown back a little bit. I wonder if Goff saw this corner not getting depth. I wonder if he saw him coming downhill, and instead of throwing it out in front of St. Brown, he kind of intentionally, I don't want to say underthrew it, but kept it away from number 14 such that maybe St. Brown could catch it, put his foot in the ground, and then curl back to the inside. Perhaps too much of me trying to read into it. Basically, they've converted that one so many times, and they had no difficulty with those outside corners on verticals. I wonder if Goff's super high level of awareness there actually almost kind of worked against him. And here's what I mean. If you look to the other side, check out this route by Jameson Williams, where the pressure is coming from. I mean, that's where the blitz pressure is coming from. Goff, doesn't have any awareness of it because he's looking up there to St. Brown completely. You've got a huge lane for Williams to run onto. We're going to, convert that. I know that Cam Kerr was there, but those guys haven't made plays pretty much the whole game, and I would not expect him to make that tackle on Jameson Williams if he's catching it out in front and getting a full steam run. I believe we're on to the second drive of the third quarter for the Lions, and this one's extremely unfortunate from multiple perspectives. First of all, you take a 24-14 lead late in the second quarter. I believe it's 30 seconds left on the touchdown to Jameson Williams. And then the Rams get a field goal, another field goal, and then a touchdown. And you only had the ball once from a Jared Goff standpoint, and suddenly you're down 27-24. The other way that this is unfortunate is because I think this is an obvious defensive pass interference call on the corner down here. I think it's Durant. In my opinion, it's a game-changing play. The offense for the Lions has been able to generate big plays down the field. The Rams really get away with zero negative awareness. It's astounding to me, the lack of awareness for who you've got from a matchup standpoint down here and how much you shouldn't trust that outside corner to be able to handle this vertical. Goff takes a huge shot here and I think makes a great throw. In my opinion, this is a DPI. I can't zoom in here, but I've actually seen the zoom in. Someone in our Ravens Discord had the ability to zoom in on this and see the hold or the grab. The announcers had the gall to say, oh, their feet got tangled up. No, their feet didn't get tangled up. 14 is beat, and he's grabbing Jameson Williams like right here. It's possible that Williams is still going to have to dive to make this catch. Fine. At minimum, that should be a defensive pass interference call down the field, and the Lions should have the football, somewhere in this area, the positive 43, the positive 42, wherever the refs determined that the flag that the penalty actually occurred, if they call it. I recognize you may have a disagreement there and think, okay, Goff threw that football out in front of him too far. Check out the end zone angle before you make that kind of determination, because he takes a huge shot on this play. So, again, this is after the Rams have taken a 27-24 lead. Under center play action, to me, the concept that I'm seeing here is looking to get the ball down the field to Williams. And as such, I'd like to help out here. If we're going to take a shot, if we're going to be under center play action, this is me being a little bit picky here, to be honest with you. So Montgomery is releasing underneath. Fine, okay? And he's played a big role in the last couple of weeks, last 3 or 4 weeks, catching balls out of the backfield for big gains, being very efficient. I actually talked about it in a film study video last week. But with the difficulty that you're having pass proing, I wouldn't want to give whoever the defensive tackle that Cologne is pass proing a two-way go. So hindsight is 20/20. For me, to give you a little bit of hindsight, I'd like to see Montgomery be in a position to possibly help out there, recognizing that that's the weaker guy that we have out on the field right now from a pass pro standpoint. It is a huge shot that Goff takes, man. Still gets this ball off, puts it in a spot for Jameson Williams to make a play. I'm going to, again, try to convince you of the fact that human beings do not run, especially at the NFL level, with their right arm outstretched consistently like Frankenstein. And that's exactly what 14 did. He reached out because he was beat. Who knows? Maybe the Rams will not have this issue again. I'm talking about their safeties showing a lack of awareness, lack of respect for players who've beaten their outside corners consistently. I'm talking about St. Brown and Williams. I don't really care what the PFF rankings are from this game or any other one. If you line them up again on Sunday, I would expect Williams and St. Brown to beat those guys vertical again, just like you saw right there.